You know that feeling when the day just gets away from you?
Oh, absolutely. Like you're just reacting all the time.
Yeah, constantly putting out fires instead of, actually building something. I think most of us feel that overwhelmed sometimes.
Definitely. It's pretty common.
So today we're doing a deep dive into a book that offers a very structured approach to tackling that. Is Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club.
Ah, yes, that one. It's got quite a following.
It does. And we've got some great source material thanks to our listeners' full audiobook transcripts from YouTube, so we can really get into the weeds on this.
That's fantastic. Gives us a really solid look.
So the 5 a.m. Club, in essence, it's a story, right, about an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I was in a bit of trouble business-wise.
And an artist who's searching for that creative mojo again.
And they get mentored by this slightly unusual billionaire figure.
Right. And the whole thing pivots around waking up at 5 a.m. That's the core idea.
Owning your morning, as the book puts it, and the principles that flow from that.
Exactly. So our mission here isn't just to tell the story beat by beat.
No, we want to pull out the key insights, the practical bits.
The stuff you can actually use. Think of it like the Cliff's Notes, but with more context and discussion.
Right. Understanding the why behind the methods, getting the core value without needing the full read.
So let's start at the beginning. The book kicks off at this big conference.
And we meet our two main characters there, the entrepreneur.
She's presented as successful, but you can tell she's stressed, facing big issues.
Yeah, under the surface, things aren't great. And then there's the artist.
He's got this kind of edgy look, dreadlocks, earring, but he seems kind of lost too, battling his own demons almost.
Self-sabotage, maybe. He seems restless.
And they're both there to see this speaker, this spellbinder.
Someone meant to be super inspirational.
What's interesting is the entrepreneur, she's quite formal, put together.
But there's a sadness there.
Yeah, and she admits she doesn't usually go for this stuff.
Yeah.
But she's worried about productivity, about protecting her cognitive assets.
Her focus, basically, in our crazy digital world.
Right. And the artist seems a bit more open. Maybe he's heard this speaker before.
Yeah, there's a hint he has some positive past experience. The entrepreneur is definitely more skeptical.
Guarded. And then, bam, drama. The spellbinder collapses right there on stage.
A huge turning point, right at the start.
Talk about a catalyst.
Yeah.
So in all the chaos, this homeless guy appears.
Kind of mysteriously.
And he starts talking to the entrepreneur and the artist. Just these short, cryptic bits of advice.
Almost like little riddles.
And he gives him this index card.
Yeah.
Which has become kind of famous from the book.
Ah, the quote, "All change is hard at first.
Messy in the middle.
And gorgeous at the end."
Yeah. Simple, but it clearly hits home for both of them, given what they're going through.
You see their reactions. The entrepreneur says something like, "That's very good information." Acknowledges its value.
Even though she's still probably reeling from the whole situation, the artist is maybe more in shock.
It really sets up how they might react differently moving forward, doesn't it?
For sure. The entrepreneur, despite her doubts, you sense she knows something has to change. Her current way isn't working.
She sees a possibility, maybe.
And then things get really weird. Or maybe serendipitous.
Yeah. The homeless man. Well, turns out he's not homeless at all.
Nope. He's a billionaire, Stone Riley.
Quite the reveal.
And he invites them, the entrepreneur and the artist, to Mauritius.
Just like that. Fly off to Mauritius.
On his private jet, naturally, which has this 5AC logo.
The 5 a.m. Club. Own your morning. Elevate your life. It's all branded.
It is. So this billionaire, Stone Riley, he's painted as quite a character.
Definitely eccentric. A bit of an oddball, the book says, but with strong value.
Yeah, hugely wealthy, but apparently gave most of it away. Very philanthropic.
And he has this sort of compelling, unconventional wisdom. That's what starts to win them over, I think, especially the skeptical entrepreneur.
It leads us right into the core idea, doesn't it? The whole philosophy of the 5 a.m. Club.
Owning your morning. That's the mantra.
The billionaire really hammers this home, those first hours, from 5 a.m. onwards, before the world wakes up.
That's the golden time. For growth, for productivity.
He calls it the day stacking foundation. Like winning the morning means you win the day.
It's logical when you think about it, setting the tone early.
Because that's when your focus, your energy, your willpower, they're supposedly at their peak.
Right, before the distractions and decisions of the day start chipping away at them.
It's about intentionally using that peak state, not just waking up early, but doing something specific with that time.
Exactly. And that's where the really practical part comes in, the formula.
The 20-20-20 formula. Okay, let's break this down because it's very concrete.
It is. It structures that first hour from 5000 to 6000.
So the first 20 minutes, intense exercise.
Yep. Get sweating, things like sprints, maybe some weights, something to really wake the body up.
Get the endorphins flowing.
Exactly. Then the next 20 minutes, reflection.
Okay, so this is quieter. Journaling, maybe meditation, gratitude lists.
Stuff like that. The goal is inner calm, perspective. Reduce stress before the day properly begins.
Makes sense. Get centered.
And the final 20 minutes, learning.
So feeding the brain, audiobooks, reading articles, maybe studying something specific to your field.
Continuous growth, personal and professional development.
So the promise is, if you do this consistently, you get what? Increased focus.
Focus, less stress, better perspective, more energy throughout the day.
That's a pretty compelling package if it works.
It sounds quite powerful. And you asked earlier about the neurological reasons?
Yeah, why this specific sequence? Exercise, reflect, learn.
Well, the exercise boosts blood flow and releases those feel-good chemicals like endorphins. It actually primes the brain.
Okay, so you're more alert, but also maybe less stressed.
Right. Then the reflection period capitalizes on that calmer state. You can think more clearly, process things without the usual mental noise.
Quiets the chatter.
Exactly. And then when you move into learning, your brain is optimized, alert, focused, less stressed, better for absorbing information.
So it's a deliberate physiological and mental sequence.
It seems designed that way, yes, to build on each stage.
Beyond just the formula, though, the billionaire shares these other core ideas. The book calls them brain tattoos.
Memorable concepts, yeah, designed to stick.
One is this capitalization IQ. What's that about?
It's the idea that, well, potential isn't enough. It's about using what you have.
So discipline and dedication matter more than just raw talent.
That's the argument. Consistently applying yourself trumps just being naturally gifted but lazy, essentially. It's about maximizing what you do possess.
Like the old saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Pretty much that, yeah. And how do you build that discipline if you feel you don't have it?
That's a good question. How does the book handle that?
It frames discipline as a muscle, something you build with practice.
Not something you're just born with or without.
Exactly. Start small, use a 20-20-20 structure, build momentum. Those small wins reinforce the habit.
Okay, so it's learnable. That ties into the next point, right?
Yeah.
The focus on continuous learning.
Absolutely. Self-education is huge in the book. Constantly improving, reading, learning.
Building, what was the phrase? Antibodies to combat any form of average.
Yeah, striving for excellence and avoiding being a drama mama.
Ah, okay. Meaning?
Someone who just complains, focuses on problems, negativity, instead of, actually doing something constructive.
Taking action. And he also talks about rigor.
Attention to detail. Doing things properly, not superficially.
Taking pride in your work, seeing it as a reflection of yourself.
Right. And this connects to what he calls the 5 assets of genius.
Ah, yes, I remember reading that. Let's see. Mental focus.
Physical energy, personal willpower.
Original talent. So talent is acknowledged.
It's an asset, yeah, but needs that capitalization IQ.
And the 5th is daily time.
And the point is, these assets are at their absolute highest quality in those early morning hours.
Before the day wears them down. Okay, that makes sense.
Then there's another key concept, the twin cycles of elite performance.
Twin cycles, meaning work and rest.
Exactly. Intense work periods need to be balanced by intentional recovery periods. It's not sustainable to just push.
It's like an athlete needs recovery days.
Precisely. The billionaire himself apparently takes big chunks of time off every quarter just to renew.
Really? Like completely unplugged?
That's the idea. He even advocates for no technology days, full digital detox for proper rest.
Wow. Sounds appealing, but maybe hard to implement for most people.
Yeah.
How do you find your own balance?
The book suggests self-awareness is key. Pay attention to your energy, your focus, your mood.
Listen to your body and mind.
Yeah. Notice when you're hitting diminishing returns, and then schedule rest before you burn out. Be proactive about it.
Right. Don't wait till you crash. Schedule the recovery. The book also really hammers home the importance of mindset, doesn't it?
Oh, hugely. Challenging limiting beliefs is a major theme.
There's that line, victims have big TVs, leaders own large libraries.
Ooh, yeah. That's pretty blunt.
It is. But it makes a clear point about passive consumption versus active growth.
Choosing how you spend your downtime, what you feed your mind.
And the idea that world-class is a process, not an event.
I like that one. It counters the myth of overnight success.
Right. Mastery takes time, consistent effort. It's cultivated, not just given.
And it encourages really understanding your own values, what actually matters to you.
And then living intentionally, making choices that align with those values.
Which isn't always easy, but it's part of the path to fulfillment.
To illustrate some of this, there's that powerful section where they visit Robben Island.
Yes, Nelson Mandela's prison cell.
Such a stark contrast to the billionaire's luxury, but a profound lesson.
In resilience, forgiveness, leadership under the most extreme pressure imaginable.
And they highlight Mandela's own routines in prison, right? Rising early, self-improvement.
Even in that tiny cell, he maintained structure and discipline. It connects directly back to the 5 a.m. club philosopher.
How so? What's the deeper link?
It shows that routine, that inner discipline, isn't about external circumstances. It's an internal locus of control.
Ah, okay. It provides purpose and strength no matter what's happening outside.
Exactly. It demonstrates how intentional habits build resilience, keep you focused on bigger goals, even through immense suffering.
It really drives home that idea that sometimes extreme suffering can forge greatness.
A powerful, if difficult, concept.
And they also bring in that George Bernard Shaw quote.
Yeah.
Something about unreasonable people.
Yeah. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man.
And the billionaire uses that to say,
never, ever be reasonable with yourself when you're chasing big dreams. Don't let reasonableness limit your ambition.
Push beyond conventional limits.
And as they learn all this, the focus starts to shift towards legacy.
Right. Not just personal success, but contribution.
Living for something bigger than just yourself. Making a positive mark on the world.
The book contrasts tourists of legacy with citizens. Yeah, tourists just sort of think about it occasionally. Citizens make it a core part of their life's work.
And the ultimate goal, the billionaire says, is to be, let me get this right, sublimely creative.
Pristinely productive. Yeah. Decadently decent.
And of service to many. That's quite an aspiration.
It's holistic. Covers creativity, productivity, character, and impact.
So naturally, the story wraps up by showing the results for the entrepreneur and the artist.
The transformation.
Yeah. The entrepreneur turns her business around, finds balance.
The artist finds his creative flow, gets healthy, finds love.
And they stick with the 5 a.m. routine, right? It becomes their lifestyle.
And they even name their son Stone after the billionaire mentor.
A clear tribute. It shows the lasting impact.
Definitely.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the 5 a.m. Club, what are the absolute core takeaways if someone listening just remembers a few things?
Well, I think number one is the sheer potential locked in those early morning hours. Owning your morning.
Taking control before the day takes control of you.
Exactly. And then the practical tool, that 20-20-20 formula. Move, reflect, grow.
Exercise, reflection, learning. A concrete structure.
And underlying it all are those principles. Discipline isn't fixed, it's built. Continuous learning is vital. Balance intense work with real rest. Mindset matters hugely.
And aiming for a life of purpose and contribution, not just personal gain.
Right. It's a framework for, as the subtitle says, elevating your life across multiple areas.
Professional performance, inner peace, health, impact.
It touches on all of those. It's about proactively shaping your life, starting with that first hour.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Something to chew on.
Yeah.
What's one small step, just what we could actually take tomorrow morning to start owning your morning?
Doesn't have to be the full hour right away.
Exactly. Maybe just 10 minutes of exercise or 5 minutes of journaling. What's one thing you could try?
Just reclaiming a little bit of that quiet, focused time for yourself.
Yeah. Consider what that might unlock.
Yeah.
It could be the start of that gorgeous phase of change the book talks about.
Yeah. A powerful thought to end on.